Hi, everyone. Welcome to Resume 101. My name is Brooke Smart. I'm here representing the Center for Career Development and Professional Engagement. I apologize for not being able to be in person with you guys today. So looking forward to just sharing a little bit about kind of what to expect for resumes, things to know, things to do, things to not do, and a little bit about kind of how we approach them in our office. So don't panic if you've never heard of our office. We go by Keen Careers, which most of you have probably heard of, hopefully at this point. So a quick introduction to myself. Again, my name is Brooke Smart. I'm the career coach for arts and sciences. I have 2 degrees here from TU, and my background is in arts and sciences for both. So excited to share a little bit about that with you guys today. And hopefully most of you know me now, either from working with me in person or from getting a chance to see the emails that I send out every week that have new opportunities on them and upcoming events. If not, take a look. They come out normally every Friday morning. It's something we work really hard on to try to get you guys as much information as possible. And I think the really cool thing is a lot of the opportunities that you see coming out are things that professors have funneled into us. So I think that's really awesome also. All right, so let's jump into it. We're going to talk about first impressions. We're going to talk about the do's and the don'ts, content versus templates, and then also kind of some examples of what not to do, some examples of what to do. So I think this will be helpful today. Okay, what is the average time spent looking at a resume? I would hold for pause if we were in class. This is a recording. I'll give it to you pretty quickly. We spend a lot of time working on this for an employer or a recruiter to not spend very much time looking at these. So the importance of making sure that you have the most important things on top so that they get to them quickly and efficiently is really key, because the average time spent is about 10 seconds. That doesn't seem like very much. Employers are looking for, is this someone that we want to talk to? So you want to make sure you have the things that are going to make you stand out as close as possible for them to get to say, yes, this person looks interesting, we're going to take a look. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased. Our office feels like you should spend more than 10 seconds looking at it, but we want to give you a realistic expectation. We spend lots of time working on these to make them look really good and present yourself well. So we want to make sure that we're putting that good stuff first. So first impressions matter. I wanted to share this video with you. Excuse that it's for a different college. This is a video that my boss showed us when we were being trained on kind of the expectations and what our standard is for resumes. So I'm going to share this. Hopefully you guys will be able to hear it. If not, I'll explain it a little bit later. It'll make sense.
So you're ready to start a new career. Tell me, do you have any business training? No, but I have a brilliant personality. Well, there are lots of positions in the medical field. Do you have any medical training? No, but I have a brilliant personality. Okay, do you have any computer skills? No, but I know. You have a brilliant personality.
Personality alone won't get you very far. Let Right Career College train you for a rewarding career.
Okay, so hopefully you got to hear that. If not, I can send you the link. But basically, this really sticks out to me because a resume, once you need to be more than, okay, I've done these tasks and that's why I'm awesome. It really should be about, what are the skills that you're bringing to the table? You completed these tasks, but what does it show? And that'll make a little bit more sense as we get into this. So first up, who's your audience? This is important to know as you're writing these resumes. You want to make sure that you have a very defined idea of who this is going to go to and what they're looking for. So it could be a recruiter for a company, could be an HR analyst, a hiring manager, or a hiring authority, position supervisors, it could be an admissions counselor, could be a department chair. Your resume can be used for a lot of different things. So you want to make sure you know exactly who it's going to. Okay, so some of the do's, we try to keep it pretty simple and then we'll get into examples. So you want to customize your resume for each application. So that means specifically to yourself and to the industry that you're applying for. You want to make sure that you're specific about the things that you're describing. You want to show the employer what you can do for them. Again, this comes back to not just the skills you completed in previous experience, but what are the skill sets you're bringing to the table? What can you bring to them? Using the appropriate keywords. I think this is where industry knowledge is helpful. So if you know you're going into something specific, if there are words that you know would help you highlight or stand out because that's something that you have experience in, these are places for you to highlight that. Also, it can be really helpful when There are sometimes when you're submitting applications into a computer system that's going to be analyzed. So an applicant tracking system, you'll hear me talk about it later. There are some things that are going to help you kind of meet all the check marks for that. And then the last piece is remaining consistent in your writing and formatting. You want to make sure it sounds like you. You want to make sure it not sounds like a professional version of you. And so that way you're putting your best foot forward. So kind of on the flip side of that, things you don't want to do. So try not to include irrelevant or damaging information. Remember, you're trying to make yourself look good. Don't forget to include up-to-date contact information. That's a key part. I understand if you don't want to use a certain email, but make sure you use something that you check. The last thing you want is to put in the effort to apply for a job or an internship or any kind of opportunity, and then not be checking the email that you set up on the account. So kind of tying into emails, make sure you don't use an unprofessional email. We'll talk about this in a little bit. We have really gotten away from using an objective statement because then it is something you constantly have to change. And it honestly takes up a lot of space. Remember, you get 10 seconds. If that's the first thing that an employer gets to read is your objective statement, they didn't learn anything about what you brought to the table other than just you telling them that you're awesome. So we want to make sure that they get to see those tangible things that you've done that make you a really good candidate. And then the last piece is not to use vague or overly flowery language. Again, make it sound like yourself. Don't write to something that you can't speak to when you get to the interview round. So with all of that being said, I just wanted to run through some of the sections with you. So there is no right or wrong way to do this. There are things that we suggest or recommend, so you can pick and choose and take what you want. Resumes are customizable to you, so make them fit to you. So first off, you have correct and updated contact information. So again, we use an example, Chris Wong. He's actually one of our career coaches in our office. He used an email, wongway2020@hotmail.com. He's got his phone number, and then he's got his LinkedIn link also on his contact information. If you have a website that you use to, let's say you're writing blogs, and you could post that, or you've got work that's published, you could put that on there. All those things. If there's any kind of site where you have things localized, I would encourage you to put it there. LinkedIn is a great way for them to check you out even a little bit more. As far as emails go, I mean, you have a given one. Your TU email is a great one to use. Just knowing that it's generalized to you, there's not anything crazy about it. I wouldn't say that this is a bad email, but there have been a few alumni that I've worked with that have used their personal email. That's maybe something I wouldn't want to lead with. Remember, 10 seconds. If I look at your resume and the first thing I see is that you've got some kind of crazy email, I didn't even get to the good stuff because I'm like, I wonder why they would put that on there, right? So things to think about as you navigate through this. So that would be the only thing. Make sure that you're using the best email to put your best foot forward. The one thing I will say that he did well, he branded his email and his LinkedIn well. They are consistent. So those are other things you can think about. You know, if you have a Gmail or something that you can use that you check, you can make that consistent with your LinkedIn. It looks really good. It shows an emphasis that you know how to keep things consistent. All right, so education is typically the next section we encourage you to put on your resume. It leads with what you are currently doing. So you are currently a student at TU. The big thing that we see a lot of, make sure you put that in front of University of Tulsa. I know it sounds crazy. It's just one of those things. You're going to put the University of Tulsa, you're going to have your expected graduation on that same line. I always encourage students to bold those. And then I would put the next things in bullets. So your major or majors you can list. If you are a double major and you have the room, I would put them on 2 separate lines. Sometimes when we combine the majors onto one line, it looks like maybe that they're a condensed degree program, and you want to make sure that you are showing that, hey, I've done both. If you have any minors, I would list them there. So again, bulleting them, I think it really helps make it consistent. And then it also helps you just kind of show what are the extra pieces that you found some specializations in. And then lastly is GPA. These are things that are optional. So you can include it, you can not include it. I've never had an employer ask me what my GPA was. I've had jobs who've asked for transcripts. More so they're looking for how you did in certain classes, but they're not necessarily looking at your overall GPA. So it's up to you if you want to include it. Really, there's no right or wrong to it. And then the other option you could include on here is if you have specific awards that are associated with grades or things like that, you can include that in this section as well if you didn't want a whole entire section based on honors and awards. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So you could incorporate those into your education section It just depends on kind of how you want it to feel. So next up, we have experience. This doesn't necessarily have to be paid or unpaid. It doesn't have to be, it could be leadership experience in student orgs. There's a lot of different things you could include in this. So there's just kind of 3 big things that we really want to hit on. You want to keep it in reverse chronological order. There's one exception. If you're applying to a job and you have something that is really, really relevant to that job, you want to make sure that goes first. So relevance leads, and then everything from there should be listed in reverse chronological order. So the things you're doing right now, and then at the end, the things that you've done the furthest away. And I'll show you an example of that in just a minute. So the next piece is under each one of the experiences that you list, you're going to have actionable items. So you want to make sure that you're describing what you accomplished or the skills you have built, not just the task completed, which you heard me talk about that before. This is where that little video comes in. What are the things you're bringing to the table? So I have a lot of students I talk to that have, let's say, experience working at a restaurant. Well, there's a ton of stuff you can market as marketable skills to any employer from working as, let's say, a server. You've got time management, you've got customer service experience, you have, gosh, I just blanked. So time management, you know how to do things, keep things on track. You've got the customer service, making sure that everything you do is ensuring a quality customer experience. Gosh, it'll come to me when I don't need it. Anyways, so just things like that. You want to think about, okay, it's not that I, brought people their food or check people out at the counter, or it's what are you doing? Are you, processing customers in an efficient manner to ensure a quality customer experience? There's a lot you can put into the things that you've done that are going to show those transferable skills to an employer. Okay. And then the last piece is metrics. And this is something that has become more and more relevant as I've been here a little over 2 years. The more you can provide numbers for employers, the more it sells. And so it just gives them a way to quantify your experience. So include quantity and scale where it's possible in your bullets. It provides the scope for employers. It's just a helpful way for them to kind of understand what you're really working with. This comes into play a lot of, like, if you're managing a lot of people, or if you're helping in camps, how many students you're interacting with, or campers. This could also happen if you are in charge of a budget. So if you, let's say your student org, you're in charge of managing a budget for events, and you could talk about that, or planning event, anything like that. So those are all great places to talk about that. But this is kind of the big pieces, the meat and potatoes of your experience that we look for. You can format these in a lot of different ways, but this is kind of the main pieces that you're looking for. Okay, so I know it can be frustrating. There are some jobs that you'll go out and start looking at, or internships, you'll see this less, but oh, you've just graduated, but where's your 5 years of experience? This is where the internships play in, but also where your involvement in anything on campus comes to play. So student orgs or activities, all of that, your Greek life, your student athlete, there's so many things that come into play for this. It's not just about, oh, okay, I worked and I did this. It could be volunteer experience. It could be a lot of different things. So we're going to talk through some of the different sections that are going to help you show that you've got years of experience before you even graduated. So projects is a great way that you can leverage this. And these are things that you could have completed for class. It could have been relevant projects that you did in a volunteering opportunity. It just, whatever makes the most sense. So again, you're going to do reverse chronological. You're going to do context. This is an important piece. So make sure that you describe what your project is, your contributions, and how it ended. How did the result come through? Okay. And then again, metrics are going to sell it for you. So the more you can quantify what your experience was, the better the story you're going to tell in that description of that project. So that can be its own section. If you've got some good ones, it could just be one main project that you really want to talk about because it relates directly to what you're applying for. And that's going to be huge. Something to help you stand out. Honors and awards. This can be its own section, or you can parcel it out into your education, or depending on where it lies. This is something where it's kind of your chance to highlight, like, hey, I've worked hard and these are the things I achieved. I know it's a delicate balance between, like, okay, I'm being too braggy, or this is stuff I worked hard for. But I think it's important for potential employers to see, I've done these things, I've put in the work, and these are some of the things that I've accomplished. And I think that is healthy for you to have a little moment to say, hey, like, I'm doing the things. So again, you can list things here. I would include dates. I think dates are helpful for all of this. But this would be a good one. Like, If you achieved President's Honor Roll, when did you achieve it? And what are some of the other things you've achieved? You can also include scholarships on here as well if you want. Okay, if you feel like you are still needing to fill some space, relevant coursework can be really helpful. If there are courses that you have taken that would help you stand apart because you have some background in maybe the thing that you're getting to work on. Let's say you are working in a museum and you've got a couple of courses that really prepared you for that process. This would be a great place to kind of take it and navigate through, like, here are some of the things we looked at, this is what we studied, these are some of the projects we worked on. So you could highlight that course and then maybe give a few bullets about why that course really prepared you for this opportunity. And so again, these can be customized to everything you apply for, but this is kind of a way to leverage those resources. All right. Oh, one thing I missed on that one. This is something that you can really use, especially if you are about halfway through your degree, you don't have those internship experiences yet. This would be something you could leverage there. Hopefully, the further you get into your degree, we've gotten you plugged into some internships, and that would be key, making sure that you leverage those opportunities. But this is another way to stand out. Okay, organizations. This is one of the ones that I see downplayed the most by students when I'm working with them. So a lot of you are involved in student orgs or activities or Greek life, or gosh, there's so many, I can't even keep track of all of them. Volunteer opportunities where you have great leadership or great skills that could transfer into the job, but you don't necessarily think of it as experience. And I'm here to tell you, sometimes this is the best stuff you've got. Anything that you've been involved in, include it. We can always pare things down, but anything you've been involved in, include it. And let's see what's going to stand out most based on what they're looking for in that role. So you can list your organizations that you represent, your networking ability, your skill development, or any kind of involvement in those extracurricular activities. Again, this is a place where I see a lot of leadership that gets downplayed. It gets stuffed in the bottom corner of a resume, and I really like to just highlight it and show that these are the things. Okay. All right. Skills and projects. Now, we tend to kind of keep this at the bottom. It really should just be skills, but I like to keep it at the bottom because it's almost like a summary of what you presented to them with all of your other sections, through your education, through your experience, through your awards and activities, your organizations, your projects, your coursework. Now we've got like this little kind of summary section at the bottom in your skills. So it could be certifications. So any certifications that you've earned so far. This could be things you've done on your own, things you've done within school, anything you've got. Programming languages, if you are somebody who is technologically savvy, this could be something you could plug in there as well. If you have any foreign language experience, this is a great place to plug it in, make yourself stand out. If you have any software experience, this is another place where you could plug in. Again, all of those technology skills are going to be great. A lot of them will look for someone who's experienced with Microsoft Office or Word. If your job isn't specifically asking for that, I would say that it is implied that you know how to leverage those platforms. If it is, it's something you can include. And then if there's any kind of subject matter expertise that you possess, this is where I would highlight it as well. So if you feel like you are really an expert on this topic, this could be somewhere where you could kind of leverage that as well. Okay. I know I talk fast, so sometimes I get sorry, so I try to slow down. It's hard when there's not an audience. So next up is templates. This is kind of a love-hate relationship for our office. I think templates can look really nice. I think sometimes they can be really tricky to navigate and work with, especially as you start trying to add more and more things in. So I say it's a delicate balance. The pros are they can help you get started, and you can look to them for ideas on how to frame your resume. The cons, they are not ATS friendly. Remember, ATS friendly is the applicant tracking system, so the computer analysis system that is looking at resumes to help employers kind of sort through. You have to be aware of extra blank space, and you're going to see what I mean here in a minute. And then formatting can be tricky. Again, you can put it all together one time, but then if you go back to add things in, it can be really, really tricky, and sometimes it can be really, really frustrating. So fair warning, not saying you can't use them, just be careful. Sometimes it can be more of a headache. So just throwing it out there. Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about the difference between resumes and CVs. So resumes are meant to emphasize skills. They are typically 1, maybe 2 pages, depending on how much experience you have. But for right now, I would say stick to 1. They're mostly used in the industry, nonprofit, and public sector. And after some years of industry experience, a resume can begin with professional experience and education can be moved to the bottom, because that becomes the most relevant thing that you've done, right? So let's say, I still feel like mine is fairly relevant. I graduated from TU in 2010. So again, that's kind of, it's still leading for me. It's still the top of my list, but I think at some point it will revert to what I've been doing in my career, what's going to be the most relevant. Whereas a CV is used to emphasize your academic accomplishments. It's going to be multiple pages, and the length is going to depend on your experience. The one thing I can tell you about CVs is you are going to include everything you've done, everything you've published, everything you've accomplished, everything you've been involved in, all of it. It is like a laundry list of everything. Okay, so it includes a complete list of publications, posters, and presentations. It always begins with your education, and then at some point your dissertation, and then a lot of times it is used for merit and tenure review. I can tell you this, there are some graduate school programs that would prefer a CV over a resume. So those would be things to pay attention to if you are starting to look at grad school. What are they looking for? For instance, I know the psychology department, if you go to apply to grad school for them and you send in a resume, to them it looks like you don't speak the language. So things you want to know before you kind of get into it, and things I've had to learn. So a lot of this stuff was new to me when I first started this job, so don't panic if you've never heard it before. Okay, next up, ATS friendly resumes. So again, applicant tracking system. It scans the resume to help companies parse data and find applicants. The more complex the resume format, the less ATS friendly it becomes. I can tell you this, ATS is looking for keywords, the things that will get you kicked out. If you have a picture on your resume, one of our biggest no-nos, do not put a picture on your resume, okay? 2, if you have any kind of little icons. So I know it's really fun to have icons for like your email and your phone and things like that. All of those will get it kicked out of an ATS system. So if you're having to submit your resume online, and if you have any indication that that's happening, I would strongly encourage you to not include those things. So this is becoming more and more common, especially as you start talking about those bigger corporate companies. We see it a lot. I see it a lot with the business students. So it's something that I'm seeing more and more. So just kind of a thing to throw out as a caution to you so that you know ahead of time. Okay, I wanted to give you an example of what not to do. This is obviously more fun if we could interact back and forth, but I'm just going to kind of run through some of the things that on this that would be what not to do. So first off, to me, there is a ton of wasted space over here, right? We don't want to make sure that we use all the space that we can get to really just utilize selling what kind of candidate we are, okay? He included his address, which is not ideal for us. We have seen that sometimes if you're applying for internships or jobs and you are not local, they will filter you out. So we've just discouraged it altogether. Just so that you have a chance no matter what. You're not getting filtered out because of where you live or what your home base is considered. The next up is a professional email, right? I need a job at unemployed.com. Probably not the best selling point for you applying for a job. We did not talk about objectives other than to say not to use them. Again, this would be maybe the worst one of them all. So I want a job that pays a lot of money. Yes, don't we all, right? That is something that we can kind of imply. Okay. Next up, I'm going to jump into the experience. The first thing that I see is that they are not in reverse chronological order, so that would make me crazy. The only thing that I could say is if you could do that if it was more relevant, but if I'm looking at these, all of them are sales positions, so I wouldn't say that one is any more relevant than the other. So in theory, this national sales manager should be bumped up above. There are some interesting things in here. Some of the facts that he put in and the numbers they incorporated may be a little faulty. They sound a little too good to be true. Okay. Also, I would love to see, expand, like developed a training course. Great. On what? What did you train someone on? Okay. So I want to know more details. How did you build it? What did you do? So again, I would be asking you more questions if you brought this to me. Okay, education, again, I would have you put at the top. Now on it, he has a lot of experience, so he's moved his experience up above, but again, this would be something I would tell you, you want your education up at the top. I would typically put your university first, your expected graduation over here. They've listed their degrees, which looks great. Interest. We didn't talk about this because I don't feel like it's a relevant section. Okay, you can save this for answering the questions in the interview, but it's not necessarily something that's going to be hugely important to an employer. So it says that he's on the Southridge Board of Directors, which would be great to know more about. That seems like something you could put in experience, or maybe it's organizations or activities. But then tell me about it. What is your responsibility? How are you a leader? Running, not necessarily a selling point. Gardening, carpentry, computers. Maybe you tell me a little bit about that, right? Going to clubs, definitely not relevant. Playing the flute, probably not going to be the thing that gets you the job. Okay. And then last but not least, I want to talk about this tips, right? I'm not sure any employer is hiring you for tips on what they need to do, but it says that he's a hard worker, he's fast learning, he's an individual who will get the job done, and he's a team player. All of that sounds like to me is you have a brilliant personality, like that video I showed you in the beginning. So again, I want you to show me, not tell me. Okay. So show me where you're hardworking. Did you represent that well in here? Show me that you're an individual who gets things done. Show me that you're a team player. Okay, you can show me that in a lot of those things. Team player, that was the other one I was looking for when I was talking about being in the server. You're collaborating with other individuals in order to accomplish a goal. Lots of things, okay? So this is an example of what not to do. Obviously a little bit extreme, but it's kind of fun to get to pick it apart in person. So bear with me since we're virtual today. Okay, I wanted to give you an example of a good one. So I kind of just chunked out a sample resume that we have. I've emailed your professor some examples. They are suggestions. You can start however you want, but these are some of the things that I really like. Okay, so we started off, we've got, this happens to be a film studies sample resume. Again, anybody can use these. They're just looking for kind of the formatting of it. So we did our phone number and our email. Okay. We did our education. The only thing I would add to this is that I would bold TU. Okay. And then I would probably put a bullet here for my bachelor's, just to kind of break that out. And also they did film studies, English literature. I think you probably have room to make those two different lines. I want to try to make it stand out as much as possible. Okay. Next up, they did technical skills. Again, I think you could move this to the bottom, but you could also leave it at the top. It's kind of up to you. What do you think is going to be the most relevant and most important for an employer to read? So they did studio location and equipment, editing software. They listed Final Cut Pro. If you are familiar with software, include the name so they know. Audio mixing boards, storyboarding, screenwriting, directing, and they're conversational in Spanish. It is really important for you to explain, if you are familiar with a foreign language, what is your level of fluency? And you can get on Google. There's several different ways you can list it. So just find the one that suits you best. So this is kind of a top section. And now we've got the bottom. So it's experience. So this example had experience and they had independent projects. So again, their independent projects were just short videos they've kind of listed. They've got those. If you were submitting this digitally, I would have you hyperlink them just so that they could see it, or provide a link where they could go get to them. Okay, let's talk about their experience. So they led with their position title, which I love. It shows me where they were at, the location, and then the dates that they're there. Okay. Notice on all of these, they led each bullet point with an action verb. That's hugely important. I have a list of them. It's not the end all be all list. You can always type them out and then use the, use the syllabus. Use the thesaurus to find words that will help you kind of differentiate between the different action verbs. Like for these, I would like to see that it's not filmed, filmed, filmed. So we try to get some different words in there to incorporate in. Okay. So again, you're leading with action verbs. You're giving me demonstrated and supervised use of video cameras and editing equipment. Okay, awesome. Great. So you're demonstrating, that means you're working with other people. I can imply that. Led brainstorming exercises and taught storyboarding methods. Okay, good. You're not afraid to get in there and get your feet wet. You're not afraid to demonstrate. I think if you can teach something, that tells me that you have a really good understanding of what it is and what you're trying to accomplish. All great things. Outline basic organization techniques for video and production projects. So again, this gives you an example of, okay, I'm organized and I can lay things out for the people to help them be organized as well. And then assisted with coordination of student exhibition of final projects. Great. You can work as a team, you can get things done, you're organized, you have a sense of time management. Awesome. So 4 bullet points, it gave me a lot more than what they just said, right? I'm looking for those transferable skills. Okay. There are lots of different examples in here. You can kind of pick and choose. In the examples I sent your professor, there's 3 different examples. You can pick and choose and take what you like and delete what you don't. Again, there's no right or wrong way to do it. These are kind of customizable to you. We just try to highlight the things we feel like are important. Okay. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on that because you'll have a copy of your own. Okay, so resources, again, I sent those, so you'll have those, you'll have access to those. Go ahead and look through those, find out what's important, find out what would be a good fit for you and work from there. I started in a Word document. If you want to incorporate some color, you can. Again, icons, I caution you on, do not incorporate a picture. It's the quickest way to get yourself filtered out. So again, just be mindful of those little things that'll keep you in the job hunt. Okay. Next. So this is key. So good resumes get your foot in the door and interviews get you the job. So we kind of use the feedback you're getting from applications as feedback on where we need to work. So let's say you're applying for an internship and you write a cover letter and you have your resume and you submit those, but you don't get to the interview round. So what that tells me is we need to go back and focus on your materials you submitted. Let's say you submitted those 2 things, you get the interview, but then you don't get the job. That tells me we're going to focus on your interview. The papers are getting you to the interview round, but somewhere we're missing in that interview. And so we can work on those. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a gauge on what you can kind of keep an eye on, what's going to be important for you in that moment. Okay. All right. So profiles are important. So you all have a Handshake profile. Excuse me. If you have a LinkedIn, you also have a profile on there. If you've created one for yourself. I didn't have a LinkedIn profile until I started this job, so don't panic if you don't. If you haven't created one yet, I would encourage you to go build your Handshake one first, and then you can literally copy and paste into LinkedIn. It's super, super easy. I can tell you for both of mine, I basically just dropped in what my resume was. It was really easy. It made it super nice and concise. So build your resume first, then go worry about the profiles, but you want them to be the same. This is part of your branding, okay, that you're consistent on every platform, okay? If you think that employers don't go do their research, you're lying to yourself. Okay. All right. I wanted to talk about some upcoming events because we have some cool stuff going on that I think is important. So I'll start with the most recent. So on Wednesday at noon, we're doing a virtual presentation. Our office also supports the Office of Financial Wellness. So if you need some help with budgeting, Dr. Bartholis is a great resource. She never fails to give me new tips and tricks on how to better use my money and leverage it in different ways. So if you need to know some information on budgeting, she's a great one to tap into. Then on Friday, we've got a Feature Friday where one guest is coming in. This is kind of a big deal. Normally they only recruit in the fall, and this year they have expanded it to the spring. So another opportunity. Again, I know you look at that and you think, oh, it's oil and gas, but every company that you know like that has a communications or marketing or an HR. All of these, they've got somebody who creates social media for them. So they've got a lot of things that are in that company that are still looking for arts and sciences students. So don't count them out just because they're oil and gas. Okay. Okay, so the next big thing. So this whole week we have something called Suit Up event, which is a JCPenney sponsored event where you get basically an extra 30% off of any of their professional attire leading up to the career fair. So this year it happens to be the 23rd. So it started yesterday through the 29th. Okay. All you have to do is, it's down here. I'm not sure if you guys can see it because it keeps clicking off of it for me. But if you text Tulsa to 67292, it will send you a 30% off coupon and you can use it online, order anything you want. And then it should be here in time for the career fair. So that's something that's really helpful. They did not give us an in-person option this year, so we're doing the best we can with what we got, but it's a great place. If you need to get something, you can go into JCPenney's and get sized, and they'll help you out suits wise or anything like that. But they've got a lot of good stuff at some great prices. So all of that leading up to the career fair. So we've got the spring 2022 Tulsa Collegiate Career Fair. It's on Wednesday, February 9th. Okay. It comes in 2 different formats. So we have some employers that are only recruiting in person. We have some that are only recruiting virtually. So I would encourage you to check out both because there's going to be a different set of employers at both. So in person is 12 to 4. It'll be in the Reynolds Center. And then virtually it'll be hosted through Handshake from 4 to 6. So I think the last time we checked, we had 57 in person and around 18 online. That number grows daily. So keep an eye on that as companies sign up. And then for the virtual one, you'll have to register for the fair before you can sign up for sessions. So if you need help with that, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to make a quick video I can send. But again, sign up for that and then you can sign up for sessions. The beauty of the virtual one, you get the 10 minutes guaranteed with a recruiter, which is a lot of time compared to what you probably get in person. You know, obviously in person, you have a chance to kind of make that impression face to face. So, all right. And then leading up to that, the things that we do to help you get prepared. So on February 2nd is a Wednesday. We have a Polish Your Profile at noon. All of these events are incentivized. We've got some really great prizes. There's a couple of companies that have sponsored things for you. So there's some really cool stuff. Like I know in the fall we had AirPods for almost every event. I know there's an Apple Watch for this one, for these events. I can't remember which one it is or if it's for the fair, but there's some really great stuff coming around. There's some Polaroid cameras. So check it out. All right, on February 3rd is Prep Your Pitch. That's a Thursday. We're hosting it at 5 p.m. On February 4th, it's Perfect Your Presence, and that's at noon. And then on February 9th, we're doing resume ready drop-ins from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. The really cool part about the 9th is there's also going to be some staff members here from Amazon that are going to be helping review resumes as well. So if you want to get an employer's insight on what they think your resume should look like or what things to have, it'd be a great place for you to come and check it out. So you're going to have all of the coaches, basically everyone from our office, plus some staff from Amazon. So it'll be a really cool experience. Last year we had popcorn and we had a great time. So right now, all of these events are in person. All these Prepare for the Fair events are in person. Obviously, if we have to pivot, they'll transition to virtual, but for now we have planned all of them to be in person. So we'll keep you posted. I think everything is downstairs, first floor of Hardesty Hall. So that'll be a great place to check out. So don't forget, go get your clothes, get ready for the career fair. Here's some ways you can prepare. Again, if you follow us on social media, you'll hear all about this stuff. So if you are on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, if you follow @KingCareers, that's going to have all of our information. We try to put everything out there about all of our events. I'm sure you get emails from our office through Handshake. We know that sometimes they can be a lot, but we also know that if we don't put the information out there, you'll never figure out about them. So this will be my chance to ask if you have any questions, but since I know we're not in person, I put my email up here. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me, or you can set up an appointment on Handshake. So either one of those will work. If you're not familiar with Handshake, go ahead and shoot me an email and I'm happy to help. So good luck on your resumes. If there's anything I can do to help you out, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, an appointment secures 30 minutes on my calendar. We can get it knocked out and ready to go. And then keep me posted if you have any questions, okay? Hope you guys have a great day.